to a good script practice call. I will turn the camera around in a minute once we get started, but I just wanted to say hello. Catherine, keep it up. I love the activity. What's going on this morning? Have fun hanging out with you guys last night, eating the lemon pepper wings, and just it was good time. Good time. I really love our tribe. I'm glad we were all able to connect yesterday. Hi, Renee Green. How are you? Betty Lyons. What's up, Betty? All right. Everybody on. Hey, Ashley. Oh, Ashley, you mean I'm not going to get you live on Zoom? Okay, Ashley. I'll settle for you over here on Instagram if that's the only place I can have you. I asked everyone on Instagram story to submit any objections or questions that they had. So for those of you guys who are on Instagram, I'll do my best to kind of check the chat here and check it on the screen. So if you have any objections that you want covered, just let me know and I'll do my best to get those up here on the screen. All right. Let me turn you guys around so you can see what's going on. People are slowly starting to get in here. All right. So good morning, guys. I wanted to say welcome. What's up, Al? Hey, Tiffany B. What's going on? Alexandra, Susan Greenbaum, Mara, Betty, and Renee. We're going to get started with you guys. And, as people join, we'll let them in. I believe in starting meetings on time to be respectful of your time so that you can hopefully be inspired here and get off of this call and go right into actually making your calls. I just wanted to know really quickly, and you can just type me in the chat, who would be interested if one Friday after the call ends at 9:30, we stayed on for an additional half an hour and made calls together. We all kind of mute our phones or mute our computers, make calls. And then if you have an interaction and need some feedback, you could actually unmute and we could talk about it. If you'd be interested, throw that in the chat. Susan, what's your question? You're muted, Susan. I can't hear you.
Oh, I was just putting my hand up agreeing with you. Never mind.
Oh, no. I was saying put me in the chat because I want to be able to go back and count how many people would be interested. So you don't have to raise your hand. You could just, just write me in the chat. Thank you, Susan. Good to see you. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So why don't we go ahead and get started? The reason this call is super important to me is I did not have, when I started in real estate 19 years ago, a place to go and actually practice my scripts. I was practicing my scripts on my actual clients. I learned, but it's not the best way to learn. I think you guys would agree with that. And I hope that you feel that we've created a safe space here where you can come in and kind of get out of your comfort zone and start practicing so that you feel comfortable going out and making your calls, because ultimately we're all after this, right? Payday. It's time to get paid. And if you don't get to work, this is the only payday you're going to get. So I want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to help you grow. And I want to say this about giving feedback here. The point of this call is to really help people grow and get comfortable. And there's some people on here like me. I can get on these calls. I don't care what someone says to me. I just brush it off and I can keep moving. But there are a lot of people here that are just like starting out and are working to get their confidence up and learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So when we give feedback, I want it to be constructive feedback. Hey, here's what you said. I'd like for you to think about saying it this way. Let's be constructive and help people grow and get comfortable so that they can actually feel like getting on the phone and making calls. With that being said, let's get started. I'm going to ask the question I ask every week. Did anyone do the homework, which is, as you're prospecting, did you actually write down the objections that you're getting from your potential sellers so that we could go over that here on the call? And if so, I'd like for you to raise your hand because I'd like to be able to go over those objections with you and help you out. So who's that person that was actually doing your job this week that came across an objection that you want some help with?
I just have a quick question. Yesterday when you came in the family tree and have that class, everything that you talked about happened to me on a listing appointment.
Oh my goodness, really?
And the reason for that is because, and I've never done this before, but it's an unusual situation. My conversation had always been with the son, who was my client as a buyer,
Okay.
and the parents were the sellers. So I never talked to the sellers. And I went on the appointment thinking we're signing the listing agreement and starting. So everything that you had talked about in the class yesterday is what they brought up at that stupid appointment. So I'm like, never again.
And listen, so number one, I appreciate you speaking up. It takes sometimes a little courage to get this call started and speaking up. I want to say something about what you said, but before that, I just want to say, Ebony, Althea, Olivia, my policy on this call is that if you're going to be here, your camera has to be on. If you're not comfortable having your camera on, or you're in this position where you can't have it on, I understand that. However, I'm going to have to ask you to go to my David Radney Push Instagram and watch it from there. I'll give you a minute or two to like get your hair straight, whatever you got to do. But in a couple minutes, if cameras aren't on, just know I'm removing you with love, and you're welcome to come back, but your camera needs to be on. Guys, what Anna's talking about was the power of the script pre-qualifying. And I believe it's such an important script, because if you pre-qualify correctly, you can almost get the listing before you actually even show up for the listing appointment. And what it does is it lets you know if you're getting in front of someone who's like ready, willing, able, motivated, and coachable. And I think a lot of times people don't pre-qualify because, number one, they're afraid to find out that lead that they think is a strong lead isn't really a lead. You know, we're just so excited to have an appointment. We just go out sometimes because we feel like that's moving in the right direction. I will tell you, you're wasting your time getting in front of people who aren't serious, who aren't ready. And if they are serious and they are ready, do your job and pre-qualify and make sure that you have the information that can help you land that listing. Raj is raising his hand right now, and Raj will tell you, I was his chief reminding officer for years, like pre-qualify, pre-qualify, pre-qualify. And there were times he wouldn't do it, and it was always to the detriment, of getting the listing. So, Raj, what do you have to add to that?
Well, so I had so last week when I was doing the pre-qualify, and this is definitely on me, when I asked them, what would you like to, what kind of price are you looking to sell your home for? They've lived there for 22 years. And they said something to the effect, and this is where I messed up, like, well, it's an older house. We don't want to do any repairs or anything, but they didn't really give me an accurate number. And then when I go there, I show up with because the lower the price, whenever a seller gives you a lower price than what you're thinking, that's a great thing. That's in my opinion, that's always great, because you're going to sell it. But I go in there with like 925, and they go, oh, we were thinking 850. And then immediately I started fumbling all over myself. Well, 850 to 925 is my range. Like, it just looked terrible. It was just, and then I was like, well, you're selling it this. Whereas if I would have been like, well, if you had your ideal price, what would you be looking for? Because then I could have asked that question multiple ways in the pre-qual conversation.
Absolutely.
So that I'm not falling all over myself. Now they're walking up being like, is he really confident that he's going all over the place? And maybe my saving grace is that they're not listing now, they're listing in January, and we're going to revisit it. But it was something where you just got to nail down that pre-qual. And sometimes, they are meeting with other agents, other things like that. But it's such a critical conversation you must have.
I completely agree. And the question, I don't know if I'm going to get this exactly correct, but on the pre-qualification, it's when I come to your house Wednesday at 6 p.m., what price would you like to list your home for?
That's it.
At that point in time, they would have told Raj 850, and he would have known, okay, the comps are saying 925, so I'm good. And so you don't want to get surprised by that. You're absolutely right. Asking those questions in advance are definitely going to set you up for success. All right, I'm ready to get into it. Any other objections that you guys want to get into or talk about before we get started from your calls? And I guess the hardest part that I have here is trying to figure out, are you not getting objections, or are you so good at actually overcoming the objections, or are you actually not making your calls? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Susan, go ahead.
I have a listing right now, which is $150,000 overpriced. So I went so far as to entrust a bank appraiser that I paid, and he himself, we're not getting any showings on the house. And things I know are slow. Everything above 1.5 is very slow in Ramsey, but I don't know how to have this conversation anymore.
With your seller about reducing the price?
We need to do a price reduction. It's been on the market for 9 days already and no offers.
When you took the listing, did you know it was overpriced?
I started, my price was, originally we started out at 1.4, then I went to 1.599 after seeing, you know, some of the other houses, and that's as high as I wanted to go. And he said no. And they were having all kinds of activity from friends who knew the house was going on the market. Oh, don't put it on the market. We'll buy it now.
So did you know it was overpriced? Like,
yes.
when you, okay. So it's kind of hard. Here's one thing I want to say, and I don't want to get on here and preach. I want to do some script practice. However, I have to say this: when we take a listing and we know it's overpriced, when we take that listing, we're almost telling the seller, like, yeah, this is the right price. So to come back later on and be like, that price wasn't right, we need to do a price reduction. Yeah, that conversation needs to be had. But when we take an overpriced listing, they're kind of looking at us like, well, you took it at that price, sell it at that price. It can be a tough conversation to have, Susan. My thing I want to say to you is that it's not necessarily a script. It's a tough conversation. And what you have to do is go back to motivation. And I will ask you this: what is their motivation for selling this home, Susan?
They purchased a house through me in Upper Saddle River, and they're closing at the end of October. But he says he doesn't have to sell the house to buy the other one, which is true.
Yeah, but at the same time, if he can afford to do that, he's pretty financially savvy. So does it make sense to carry this other house until it sells? And if so, how much is that costing every month to carry that house? Do you know what the carrying costs are?
No, I don't.
I would find that out, because it's probably $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month that he's just throwing down the drain. And if he just did the price reduction and got it sold, he probably would be in a better situation. So I would say go back to the motivation, but have some numbers in hand to talk about. Yeah, I know you don't have to sell this one to buy the other one, but why are we throwing money away every single day that this house isn't sold? You got to quantify what that number is. And I would sit down with him and have a pen and paper, and I would do some math and create some pain.
Okay.
That's what I would do. All right, Alberto, what's going on, sir?
Yes, good morning, David. Good to see you again. I just want to comment that I had a buyer that will have an initial conversation over the phone, and he says that he's aware about the NAR settlement, that he doesn't have to pay the buyer's agent, and he's willing to pay only 3% to my side. Okay. And I told him, hey, we need to go to the homeowner association, because we are going to make sure that everything is aligned in order to get a sale really quick, because you don't have the 40-year rectification that is asking here in South Florida. In all Florida, we are going to have trouble. We went to the association, talked to the people, to the manager, and got the information. And when we were outside in the parking lot, and I told him, are you sure that you don't want to pay buyer's agent commission? No. Okay, listen, he's a contractor, and we were in a street mall. And I told him, if you were hired to paint this entire mall, and you have only 2 weeks, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna do it by yourself, or you need to hire more people in order to complete the job? Oh, that's right. That's why you have to offer commission. It could be 2.5 or 3%. Oh, I got it. So let's give 2%.
Okay, so you were able to have a conversation. You were able to show the value there and walk him through. And I love what you did, guys. I don't know if you were paying attention to what he said. However, sometimes we got to tell some stories. We have to ask some questions, right? We don't always have to like overcome the objection the way we do here on this call. It's a matter of understanding the situation and getting that seller to see things differently. And so I commend you on that, Alberto, because having that buyer agent commission to pay out is going to help you get that property sold. And it can be a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation, but that's our job, to have these conversations and move people in the right direction. So good job, man. Good job.
Besides that, I told him 95% of the buyers are working with an agent, and any agent are going to work for free.
I know I won't.
Yeah.
So, all right. All right. So, hey, so I don't see, hey, iPhone 5, what's going on? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Shoot.
I heard him saying that he was discussing the buyer's agent's commission in order to sell the house. I don't want to get into a real long conversation, but is he negotiating the buyer's agent side of the commission?
Of course, he just walked away as you're asking that question. But see, say what you want to say. He'll come back in a second.
Because I think the NAR settlement was for the decoupling of commissions. I don't necessarily negotiate a buyer's agent commission at my listing agreement any longer. I let them know that an offer may come in requesting buyer's agent's compensation, but that route I will not go because the NAR settlement is exactly what it is.
Right.
It's decoupling of commissions.
How would you have handled that
conversation?
That. How would you have handled that conversation? What scripting would you have used when the guy said, no, I don't want to pay a buyer commission? How would you have moved forward with that conversation?
Mr. Seller, because I've had this conversation several times. Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I understand your decision right now, but will you be open to receiving an agreement that has compensation? Are you open to taking a look at it once the numbers are in? And they say, yes, we move forward. I let them know that it's a possibility and allow yourself to be open to receiving that offer. And then we can talk about it at that point. But I am not negotiating buyer's agents compensation any longer. That is what this NAR settlement was. Buyer's agents should be negotiating their own commission.
So what if I said, when you asked if I was open to that agreement and I said no, then how would you have moved forward with that conversation? I'm not open to looking at any agreements where I have to pay the buyer agent compensation. What would you have said?
Well, I haven't ran across that yet because the way that I worded, because I don't necessarily want to tell my client that it's a possibility. In order for you to get a proper agreement, you have to pay commission, because that is so not true. I've had, since this settlement, deals that have went through because the buyer's agents are receiving their compensation from their client.
Got it. So I'm working on getting to know everyone's name. Tell me your first name again.
Tiffany.
That's what I thought. I didn't want to say the wrong name. Okay, so Tiffany, here's what I have to say. And before I say this, Liz and Lynch, you got to get your cameras on. Here's what I'll say, Tiffany. I like the way you deliver scripts. I like your confidence, and I like how you just put it out there. A lot of times we beat around the bush, and the saying is, don't say blah, 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 when you can just say blah. You are that blah person. You put it out there. You're direct. And I hope you guys are paying attention to how different people deliver scripts. I believe in just getting right into it, which is why I've always liked Mike Ferry, because I always felt like he was pretty direct when it came to scripting. So thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and get started. So I want to get started with objection handlers. I got my little famous click and spin the wheel that's just going to throw it up. What I want to know is who is willing to do some role play. So everybody who's ready to role play, just raise your hand, their hand on Zoom, and I know who to choose. But I'm also going to choose people who don't have their hands raised too. So just so you know, you're not safe because you didn't raise your hand. And Lynch, I need your camera up. If you don't want to have your camera up or can't put it up, I'm going to ask you to join me on Instagram at David Radney Push. I got a policy here. This is a free call. The only price is the price to have your camera on. So I'll give you a minute to get that together. Man, I love all these people. I got Susan, I got Al, Alberto, I got Pete, I got Myra ready to go. Pete, listen, we're going to give it one more week as a FSBO. We have a really interested buyer, and they say they're going to come by this weekend with an offer. Give us a week, and let's see what happens with them. If that doesn't happen, we may be open to meeting with you.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're thinking you'd like to give it one more week and see if that buyer is going to come through with an offer?
Yeah, this would be their second time coming out. They called and said they're really interested and that they were going to come by Sunday for the open house.
Gotcha. So they've been through twice already, right? And now they're coming back again to the open house.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I'm curious, I mean, what do you think is going to, you know, really encourage them to put in an offer now after they've already seen it twice, that they need to see it for a third time?
I mean, they said they're coming to actually submit the offer. So I guess we'll see. I mean, we've gotten that from a few people and never gotten any offers. However, they seem like they're really interested in the house. And so I don't want to list a home and have to pay a commission if I already have a buyer.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And yeah, so I mean, you've been on the market for a little while. They've kind of come back and forth twice, and now they're coming in with their third time to present an offer to you. Do you think that they're going to come in with their, you know, the absolute most money that you could possibly get for this house?
I have a number in mind. I'm not going to sell below that number, but I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking at this point.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, let me ask you, David. I mean, would you prefer to have one offer to choose from, or would you rather have many offers to choose from?
I mean, many would be better. I just want the highest. I want the best.
Yeah. Well, listen, David, what I'd love to do is, you know, I'm going to stop by. I'm going to be in the area. I'm going to show you my marketing strategy. It won't take more than 10 or 15 minutes. That this is a proven method to get you multiple offers on the property. So you not only make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table, but also get the best terms. I mean, have you verified them? Like, do you know, like, how much money they have in the bank, what they do for a living, who their lender is?
No, we haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a little concerning. So listen, I'm going to stop by today. Was today at 4 or tomorrow at 6 better for, or today at 4 or today at 6 better for you?
I mean, I'm free at 4 today. I mean, what are you trying to stop by for again? What? Because I don't have a lot of time. I have a lot of people trying to meet with me about this house, Pete, and I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, no worries. Listen, I don't have a lot of time either, so it won't be more than, you know, 15, 20 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what we do to get homes sold. But more importantly, I'm going to show you what you need to make sure that you're doing, so that way you can make sure that you're getting the best offer. And listen, if that works, great. Like, kudos to you. I want you to get the best offer that you can for the property. But on the other hand, I also want to make sure you're not leaving any money on the table and you're really seeing this through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, why don't you stop by? Well, we can have a quick conversation.
All right. Awesome, David. I'll see you then.
All right. So, Pete, I'm not going to throw this to Pete. I'm going to throw it out to the group, and you guys can just unmute and answer. There was one thing I said to Pete, and it was, I don't want to list and have to pay a commission if I already have a buyer, right? What's one way we can deal with that? Because you guys know what for sell by owners, that's their biggest concern, is that if they already have someone that's interested, they don't want to hire us and then pay a commission when they actually found the buyer. How can we deal with that?
We can find out whether the buyer is qualified enough. We can let them know that buyers come and go. Are you sure that the buyer is qualified enough to go through the transaction? That's when I would offer him that I can come and have a look and let him know if he's not represented, I can help you out and see what the best you can, how he would be beneficial to you, whether he would be able to go through a transaction.
I don't want to involve you because I don't want to have to pay a commission to you. I have this person, I found them on my own. I want to see how this plays out with them. If it doesn't work out, then we can potentially talk about meeting. How are you guys overcoming that? I'm telling you, I got a very interested buyer. My concern is I don't want to sign up with a realtor and have to pay a commission when I have the person. How could you guys solve that problem with the for sale by owner? You guys are overthinking it. I'm telling you that right now.
Oh,
go ahead, Susan.
Basically, you'd say, listen, yes, I understand you have a buyer for this, and yes, we can put them on the exception list once we list the house.
Put them on the exception list, right? Give them 2 weeks, a week, whatever you decide. If they buy the house and not back off, you don't owe me anything. However, we're not wasting any time. And if they aren't the right buyer, if things don't work out with them, then I've already started doing the work and the marketing. We have other people who are interested in buying the property. Put them on the exception list. That's how you solve that problem. Pete, I got to say, though, I love the way you handled it. And I don't know if you guys caught this. That's pretty concerning, right? It was kind of like under his breath, but he planted this seed that the way I'm doing things and vetting this buyer is pretty concerning. I don't know if you guys caught that, but as a seller, I would have heard that and I would have been like, what does he mean concerning? Maybe I do need to talk to him. Maybe there's something I don't know. So what I always did with for sale by owners, I don't like to tell them that they're wrong. They don't want to hear that. However, when you drop little things like that, you create a little pain. Like, have you checked them? Have you vetted them? Do you know if they're ready, willing, and able? You start creating some pain points with that for sell by owner, and you're starting to show them that maybe they don't know what they don't know. And that's where we can come in and actually solve the problem. I will tell you the reason why I stuck on this for a while is that I lost a lot of for sale by owner opportunities because when they gave me this objection about, hey, we got somebody, I would just kind of, okay, I get it. You know, I'll stay in touch and see how that works out. Where I could have taken that listing and put that person in as an exclusion. And guess what? Maybe I could have got them more money. Maybe I could have found a buyer who had better terms and was giving them a better price. And it's up to the seller to decide if they want to go with that buyer they already have or go with the one that I vetted, the one that's willing to pay more money, that has better terms. So we just have to find ways to overcome those objections that we're getting from these for sale by owners. We have to listen to them and we have to solve their problem. That's what we are. We're problem solvers. So we got to listen and then we got to solve. All right. So let's go to the next one. All right. So I got my hands up. Al, I'm coming to you, man. So get ready. Go ahead and unmute. Al, listen, man, I appreciate you calling me. If we end up listing, we have a relative who's a real estate agent that we'll be more than likely going with.
Oh, I understand. I hear that. How long has this relative been in real estate?
I don't know, a few years. A few years.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you why that might be concerning. Same way as if you go to a doctor who's a relative can't operate you, can they?
I mean, they probably shouldn't. Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
Right. I tell you what, too. If you do decide to work with me, which I think you pretty much will once we meet and I show you what I do, I am more than willing to give your relative a referral fee. How does that sound?
What do you mean by that? I don't understand what you mean.
Well, there's two scenarios. Your relative, are they your brother, sister? What are they?
It's my second cousin.
Oh, okay. So not that close of a relative, but anyway, there's two scenarios. If your cousin brings us a buyer for that property, they can get compensation that way. Or if they don't, I can always give them a referral fee for just as a common courtesy, because I understand I also have relatives who have businesses of their own and things like that. And I know that can be a little sensitive. So what do you say I can come over today, 5:30 or 6. I can show you what I do and I can be a backup plan for you.
All right, so I'm gonna pause you there. So first of all, a couple of things, and I want some people to help me give our feedback. Number one, I want you to work on, remember how I was telling Tiffany, like she gets right in there, she's really direct. You know, I felt like everything you said, it took about 90 seconds. I want you to work on how can you say that in 30 seconds and just get right to the point and get in there. And I think how this will help you, if you seem a little unsure, and I don't know if you were unsure or not, however, that might be my perception as a seller, like you're a little unsure on how to handle this, then I'm not feeling really confident, right? And then people who aren't confident, people who are a little confused, don't make buying decisions. So you want to come in with confidence and say it in the way like, oh, this happens all the time. Like I always have people that have a relative. Everybody knows a real estate agent. So how would you guys deliver this and give Al some feedback on overcoming this objection with some confidence and being really direct? Anybody want to just unmute and say what you would say?
I would say, Al, what's the downside to getting a second professional opinion to get your property sold? I would say no. I would say, let me come over and show you that other option and you can decide from there. That's the gist of it. And I would say it direct, clear, and confident, because emotions are contagious. When you're saying and you're dancing around like that, they don't believe you. They don't trust you.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Al? Just delivering that, being really direct.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. I'm definitely not good at these things. So whatever feedback I can get, I appreciate.
Well, you're working on getting better is what
That's
the
right.
thing is. You're not bad at it. You're just working on getting better, number one. And number two, I would take this objection that you just received, because you'll receive it again, and just take that and study this now and just write down one, two or three lines that you can just say every time and just get good at that. It's just one objection at a time. Just go deep on it. Learn the quick, what is there anything aside from them being your cousin that makes them qualified to sell your home? Are they local? Like what Jerome said, like these are just things that now if you take, like if you take what we just did now and you don't do anything with it, the next week when we jump on this call, it's going to be a very similar experience. But if you take this information and you study it and you say, okay, once a day for the next 7 days, it really should be 30 days, but for the next 7 days, I'm just going to write out the objection. I'm going to write how to overcome it. You're going to get better at this. And then next week, when you come on, you get the same objection, your confidence is going to change. You're going to be more direct, and you're going to get the listing.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Makes perfect. Don't ever say that you're not good at it. You're learning. Be confident. It's going to happen.
And Betty, thank you for saying that, because I was going to jump in to say all of you guys are here for script practice and learning how to call FSBOs and expires and how to get listings. The biggest script that we got to get past is the one that runs in our head. And if we are constantly saying the script out loud, I'm not good at this, then you believe that and you never step into that conversation with the confidence you need to have. And so, Al, I would tell you, like, to give you an example, man, for decades, I said I'm horrible at public speaking. And guess what? I never improved. I was horrible at public speaking. I couldn't get up in front of 2 people and say boo. However, when I started saying every day I'm working on improving my public speaking, I started doing things that people who are great public speakers do. I started going to Toastmasters. I started raising my hand and saying yes when I wanted to say no. And look at me now. This is what I do for a living. I cannot believe where I am right now based on who I used to be in the past, but it's my language, my script that I said to myself that changed. So I want you to say what Pete says. I'm working on getting better every day. And the way you get better every day is you take this recording, when I send it to you, you fast forward to about the half an hour mark and you listen to this feedback that everyone gave you, and you practice that with your role play partner, and you say, here's a script I want you to give me. And you practice that and you deliver that script till you can't get it wrong, till you're saying it with your chest and you feel very confident saying it. And then before you know it, you're going to be on the phone with an actual seller and get that actual objection. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm ready. It just comes out. It just rolls off your tongue. So work on your scripting, all of you guys, not you, just you, Al, but work on how you're talking to yourself, because that impacts how you show up when you're on the phone with a seller or in person with a seller. Go ahead, Al.
Can I add one more thing?
Go ahead.
I just want to read something real quick because it's so important and is relevant to what you were saying. It's from the book Objections. He says emotions are contagious and it's primarily an automatic subconscious response that causes humans to mirror or mimic the input they're receiving. He says, when you're relaxed, confident, and assumptive, you transfer those emotions to your sellers. The other thing he says, the mindset manifests itself in your outward body language, voice inflection, tone, and the words you choose. Ultra high sales performers believe they are going to win and supposed to win. They exude confidence, and that confidence transfers to the sellers.
You hear that? I second that. You want to show up, you want to be super confident. They feel that off of you. They can smell that fear. So be confident, walk in there and practice with confidence. And that's why I'm always saying, when you role play, I call it real play. You should act like you're in front of an actual seller, not your role play partner, not your friend. Pretend as if they're an actual seller and show up the same way every single time with that confidence and knowing what to say. Al, thank you, man. I appreciate you participating and being here. And thanks everyone for the feedback for Al. I want to hit another one really quickly. Susan, wait, somebody want to say something?
No, I'm just saying thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Susan, you ready for me?
I'm as ready as can be.
Susan, listen, thank you for calling us back. Yeah, we're at this point now where we are ready to hire an agent. It's just not working out as a for sale by owner, but we're talking to 5 different agents right now. Why should we hire you?
Well, I'm a very hands-on realtor, and I'd like to stop by and show you what I do for my clients and see if we can work together, and go forward from there. I have some strategies that I work on, that I feel are not like other agents. I don't consider myself an agent. I consider myself a person that guides you through the process of selling your home. And I know that it's been on the market for a while, and I'm trying to find out what your motivation is, selling this home, and where you're going to go once it's sold.
Okay. Okay. So I have some thoughts on this, but I want to get some feedback from some other people on what Susan said in her response to that question. Tiffany, give it to me.
Susan, it's like you didn't repeat what he said, like didn't affirm it. You just went into answering, and you got to be real careful with that, because you don't want to get to the point where you're just answering what the client is asking you, because then you're not in control. The person that asks the questions is the person that's in control.
Yes. Yes.
So answering is a very, very dangerous thing to do.
And then also by repeating and affirming, Tiffany, I think you probably will agree with this. The reason I like doing that as a step to overcome those types of objections, it gives me an opportunity to kind of get my thoughts together.
Mm-hmm.
That whole repeat and affirm is automatic. So I don't even have to think about it when I'm doing it. And it gives me time to, get together what I want to say so that I can be really direct. Who wants to give us, Susan, an example of how they would answer that? Like, why should I hire you? Come on, we all need to know our value proposition, our USP, or if you listen to Lisa Nichols, your snap, and to give it to us.
So I've never done this, but I've heard this before, where you would ask, are you familiar with what I do to get homes sold? That's it.
Yeah, I know this one. And I would say, well, no. And then you would say,
let me come over for 15 minutes and show you how I do it.
So I want
us to do, Anna, tell me something over the phone.
Exactly. I'm thinking we've already talked to this people. We've met with them. They kind of know who we are already. We're at this point now where they've been talking to 5 people and they're like, why should I hire you?
Yeah, give me one
I'm
thing.
the best.
Okay. Everybody says that.
Tell me one thing.
Yeah.
Tell me one thing.
Olivia
I get homes sold in the first weekend for more than other agents.
Yes, but how?
I do an amazing marketing plan that's custom for every home.
Okay. That was better, but that's headed in the right direction.
I love some of those answers too. I want to ask, who do I want to ask? Renee Green, how are you? I don't know if she's able to unmute. I can't tell.
Here we go.
There we go. Okay, Renee Green. Yes, I don't know if you heard that interaction. How would you handle that? This is something that I really want us all to be able to handle. Like, this should be an answer that rolls off of your tongue. Why should I hire you? Whether you're on the phone, whether you're in person, what would you say, Renee, if a seller said to you, talking to 5 agents, why should I hire you?
You know why you should hire me? Give me 20 minutes, 3, 4 this afternoon, because we haven't spoken. And I would like to show you what I do differently than what they do.
Okay.
3 or 4, 20 minutes.
So I'm going to push back on you, kind of like Jerome was pushing back. I don't have time to meet with every agent. Just tell me.
Can I take a stab at it? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Y'all can tag team. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
Mr. Seller, that is a great question. And I do understand if you have met with 5 agents already, obviously you have something that is causing you to not have hired those 5 agents. When you were on the market, can you explain to me what your experience was and what it is that you want your experience to be?
Oh, I love that. And I think that's a powerful question, especially with an expired. Well, my experience
because I don't answer questions. I need to know information. I'm taking information in so that I can give the proper outcome to the client.
And so I'm so happy you said that, Tiffany. I have this example I always give, and then Pete, I'm coming to you in my push class, and it's kind of corny. But I grew up with my grandfather in Cleveland, Ohio, and every morning we watched all the spaghetti westerns, you know, Outlaw Josie Wells, Wagon Train. So I always, in my mind, when I'm asking questions, I imagine that I have like a 6-shooter gun. And every time I ask a question and they're giving me an answer, I'm just loading those bullets up, right? Because those answers are the ammunition for me to get that listing. All I have to do is ask the right questions and pay attention to the answers. And I use their answers on why they want to hire me. So Tiffany's absolutely correct. We need to be asking questions. The answers that we get, and from digging deep through those questions, they'll tell you everything you need to know. They'll tell you what that agent did well, what they sucked at, what they expect from the new person they hire. And then when you go even deeper, because Tiffany, I always say, if you chose to list with me, how do I win with you? How do I lose with you? And then they're giving me even more information. So then I'm able to spit all that back at them. And that's why you need to list with me. I love that. Pete, go ahead.
Go ahead and ask me.
So Pete, listen, man, I'm meeting, I got 5 agents calling me right now. Just why should I hire you?
You know, that's a great question, David. Actually, I don't know that you should hire me.
Ooh. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, listen, David, listen, first of all, I don't take every listing, and I don't know that your scenario fits in our program. What I can tell you is, if, you know, I'm going to stop by today for maybe 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to get a good idea of what you're looking to accomplish. And what I can tell you is, for the clients who do fit our program, they have an amazing experience and they get the absolute most money for their house. So is today at 4 or tomorrow at 6 better for you?
So Pete, I got to tell you, love that. And I've used that script. It's what I call a bit of a pattern interrupt, because everyone else is talking about hire me because I'm so great and I'll do this. I used to say, listen, Pete, I got to be direct with you. I'm not sure. I don't take every listing. I don't work with every seller. And so I need to actually sit down with you and see if you qualify to work with us. You know, I'm only working with motivated and coachable people. And then I talk about the results that my people get. That's Lisa Nichols. And guys, write this down. Lisa Nichols, her last name is Nichols. Nichols. She's an author. She wrote one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, if that's how you may know her name. If you get on YouTube and you type in her name and you type in SNAP, it's spelled SNAAP, SNAP. And it's about how to deliver your unique selling proposition, not talking about what you do, but talking about the results that you get for people. That's more powerful if you talk about, well, you should hire me because my clients that hire me get this outcome.
Yeah, I just think too, I think when you kind of go into like, I'm the best marketer, I do this, I do that, like that's what everybody's saying.
Yep.
You sound like everybody else.
Absolutely, you do. And the other thing, Pete, I'm sure you would agree with this, and Tiffany and everyone else who actually makes calls, this is the importance of us being highly scripted, because when they're asking, why should I hire you? Another component of that is to always take them back to motivation. And if you know what their motivation is, it's easier to have that conversation. And when I say motivation, I'll say this over and over again. I'm not talking about I have to sell my house. Yeah, we get that. Why? Why is that important? What will that do for you? If the home doesn't sell, how's that impact you and your family? We need to know it down to that level, because a lot of times you guys are pushing to get the listing so that you can get your check. If you push to get the listing because you understand their motivation and what's important to them, guess what will happen? You'll end up getting your check, because when you help people get what they want, you always get what you want. Understand the motivation. It was hard for me to figure that out. I promise you, it makes all the difference in the world if you make it about them when you're pushing. Alexandra, did you have a question about this? Go ahead and unmute.
Good morning, guys. And I agree. When I get calls or when I do calls about listings, I always tell them it's a relationship. And so I really need to know if we can work, if there's a fit here before we can move forward. It's not just listing your home and getting paid. It's more of a relationship. You know, before we go into the paperwork and everything, the one losing out and putting money out there is the agent. So I need to make sure that it fits my portfolio so that we can move forward. That gives them an idea that you're not dying for that commission. and that you can, without being, I think, aggressive, you can also be straightforward and tell them, I do put money into it. I do have to pay marketing. So it has to make sense for me as well.
I love that. And part of my listing presentation script, which is based off Mike Ferry, is when I'm sitting down at the listing appointment, I say to them, we're going to make a decision tonight whether you choose to list your home with me or if I choose to take your listing, right? Because I'm choosing if I want to take that listing or not. If they want to overprice it, if they want me doing open houses every weekend, if they aren't willing to pay me my commission, I know my value, so I have a standard and I'm not taking anything less. I know commissions are negotiable. Mine ain't, because I know my value, right? If they're not willing to pay it, I'd rather walk away. Because one thing I've learned, and for those of you who are new, let me just say this to you right now. You start reducing your commission and taking less and not standing up for your value. The minute people get in your pocket, they never come out of your pocket. You lower your commission, and then a deal comes through and you guys are a few grand apart. That seller's going to say, if you want this deal to go through, you and the other agent figure it out. Or when the repairs come in and they've done all the repairs they want to do and there's still a hot water heater that needs to be replaced, they're going to be in your pocket again. You guys figure that out. Do you want to lose this commission over a $700 water heater? Figure it out. I teach people up front, my commission is not part of this negotiation. Like, that is a script that I've had to say to sellers in the past. Will you lower your commission so we can get this deal together? No, my commission is not part of this negotiation. Any other questions?
You know what? Now that you mentioned the water heater,
Yep.
I went to a networking thing 2 days ago, and Home Warranty of America was saying that you could get a seller warranty. So for $35, while you're in your contract for selling, they could cover up to $3,000.
Yeah.
You could offer that too. And that just makes it more appealing for the seller to go with you as well, because you would be saving them money.
That should be something that's part of your pre-listing packet. So even before your listing appointment, they should have your documents on what you do to sell property and what you offer. And that should be one of your value adds. So for me, it was the home warranty. It was the fact that I brought in the stager to do an hour consultation with them that they didn't pay for. Those are all value adds showing why my commission is what it is. And I agree, that should be something that we have as part of our pre-listing. They should know about that before we even show up. You're right, Myra. All right, let me see here. Alexandra, did you put your hand back up? I want to make sure I'm honoring everybody. No? Okay. Anna, did you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to know if you, and everybody here, if you say no to certain owners, and what would that cause you to say no? Because the appointment I mentioned at the very beginning, you have that gut feeling. You're like, oh my God, these people are horrible. I don't want to work with them. Do you go over that and just still try to work with them, or do you just walk away?
All right, who said I got something? Who was that?
I think that's the main reason we prospect every day. That's the main reason you build your pipeline, so that when you come across those situations, you're not in a position of desperation, because that's what happens. That's when you get yourself into trouble. When you take a listing that you shouldn't take, because either they're not truly motivated or they are just disrespectful and rude, and
yes,
they want a discount. It just never works out in your best interest.
You're right.
You said in your gut, and I think that's really what you just listen to your gut. Something that I take may be different than what somebody else takes, and might not be. And so it's about you, what you bring to the table, your value proposition, how you want to grow your business.
And I echo that, because early part of my career, and especially when you see social media, people post stuff all over, and you feel like everybody's succeeding or not, but you're never going to see the just withdrawn or the just canceled. You're only going to see the just listed. So sometimes people, and I would do at the beginning, just to be like, all right, they'll lower the pricing a lot. It doesn't matter. They agreed to it. I agreed to it. They forget about that conversation. So I have one right now. She's so insistent on numbers for sale by owner. We've been talking for, and I'm like, and she's like, I needed to pay for my sister's assisted care, and my dad built this house, and all these things. And the number doesn't work. It's 100,000 off. When she was a first sale by owner, buyers were coming in with 100,000 lower. So if my pipeline's low, somebody will be like, well, I'll get it, and then I'll have a listing, and I'll at least get buyers, and all that stuff goes through. No, don't. You're going to already take money out of your pocket. You're going to waste a crap load of money and your time. You could be going for a more motivated seller.
And so, Raj, what's the saying when it comes to this type of situation? What's the saying?
If you don't lead generate, you're going to have to tolerate.
We lead generate so we don't have to tolerate.
Yeah.
So we don't have to tolerate. So it's those things where those people who are rude or don't want to pay you your commission or don't want to price it right, the best thing you can do.
All of those are check.
Get up and go. Yeah, I'm out. I lead generate. I got 7 other people in my pipeline that want to sell their home. If you're not going to be coachable, if you're not going to listen to the guidance, I'd rather turn you down. Like I'm out. So, but you can't do that if you're not doing your lead gen every day, because that's the only lead you have. And you feel like you got to do and say anything to get that because you don't have anything else in your pipeline because you ain't working. I did a video yesterday talking about most of y'all, not y'all, but agents in general, you're already fired. You just don't know it yet because you ain't doing the work.
My feedback on that is I'm in control. I don't care what nobody say. People come on here, they call me aggressive and rude and mean and all kind of stuff. It's not that I want to take on certain sellers. It is that I take on certain situations, and I actually look forward to those difficult ones because they're typically easier because nobody came in and told them what it was. I'm the first one to tell them what it was. Ma'am, it's no way we're going to get $150,000 over the price. And here's why. When you're ready, let's do business. Nobody told me this, Jerome. Okay, I'm here to tell you that. That's one of my USPs.
And people want you to be real and direct with them. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I hear you guys say rude. I've had rude sellers before. That is not a stipulation that makes me turn away.
Right.
Just because you're rude is not the reason. You can be rude because majority of the time, people have different personalities that we must adjust to. If the business is straight, if you're able to explain it to them well, you'll see a different outcome from them. They actually become my better clients because they have scared a lot of agents away because of their personality, but they meet someone that is able to approach them, not necessarily combatively, but with the facts that's needed and willing to open up and tell them the truth. That is what they're looking for.
Thank you, Tiffany. And here's what Tiffany hit on the nail. You guys are here learning scripts. Those expireds and FSBOs are at home learning scripts too. And they have found if they're a little short, if they're a little rude, half of you guys get in your feelings and never call back. And so that works for them and they're going to keep it up. Tiffany's right. If they're rude, they're frustrated. You got to understand that. Our job is to go in and find out how we can help and be direct with them. The biggest question I always ask, Jerome, is it okay if I'm direct with you? And they always say yes. And then I'm direct. Be direct. Don't beat around the bush. Olivia, I see you had your hand up for a minute. I know you're driving. If you can safely unmute. And then we're going to do some more role play. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Something else I wanted to say about when you're determining if you're going to take a client on, the attitude and all of that stuff, that's not a problem. Like everyone said, that's going to build trust if you handle that client in a professional manner while they're being unprofessional with you. But something else when you're taking on a potential client that might be difficult is you have to think about what that transaction is going to do to your reputation in the real estate industry as well, because the real estate streets are small. Everybody, will hear about something. So if that client is going to make your life so difficult that the transaction is falling apart or it's unprofessional or you're dealing with the attorneys and it affects your business long term, you hear everyone say all money isn't good money. Like it's best to walk away from that. That client's word of mouth, if that client's word of mouth can be detrimental to your business, it's better to walk away from it. So those are things that I use to determine if I'm going to take it on or not.
I love that. I love that. Santiago, you ready for a role play? I'm coming to you. You ready? Unmute for me. Come on. It's okay if you're not ready. Give it your best shot and we'll help you out. So Santiago, listen, I really appreciate you coming by the house. We met with several agents. So we're going to take some time and think it over and make a decision on Sunday. Give me a call back on Sunday afternoon. I'll let you know what we decided. We're not going to make a decision tonight.
I understand that you need to think about, all the things that they have offered you. I know you met with several agents before, but what is it really that you're looking for in the agent? What is it what is it that is making you take the decision? I mean, what you're evaluating right now?
I mean, it's just a lot of information to process, and we just want to make sure we're making the right choice on who we choose to hire. So we just want some time to think it over, and we will have a decision Sunday afternoon.
Okay, I understand that. Well, what if
what are some questions you could ask me? Like Tiffany was saying, and I agree with her. Go into question mode. What are some questions you could ask? Bye, Tiffany. I know you got to go.
The question would be like, what? No, I mean, I'm just new to this.
Hey, listen, all good. So let's help them out. What are some questions that San Diego could be asking? And thank you, man, for even unmuting. I appreciate the participation. That's what we need here.
What was your response, David?
What are some questions that he could be asking me as the seller when I say I need to think it over?
What did you tell him? You said, okay, you said I had to think.
Yeah, I got to think it over. I got a lot of agents I met with. I got to review everything. So we're making the right decision. I just need some time to think it over.
Okay.
What is your time frame for moving? That's one of them.
Well, let's assume you already know that. Like, I got to get out of here. I got to sell the home. I am motivated. I just have to see you, Pam. I just have to think it over.
Awesome, David. Hey, I totally get that. And let me just ask you, I mean, is there any reason you wouldn't hire me to get your home sold?
Well, I mean, Pete, we liked everything you said. It's just, like I said, we met with 4 other people too, and we just need to evaluate everyone, what they're offering, the prices, the commission, and figure out where we want to go.
Gotcha. And let me ask you, is there anything that I didn't cover or anything that maybe wasn't clear that I can maybe explain or go into more detail?
You're pretty thorough. I can't think of anything.
Okay, I got you. And is the agent you're looking to hire a thorough agent? Is that something that you're looking to hire?
Well, I want somebody who's going to show up and get the job done. That's for sure.
I got you. Well, listen, I totally get that. And that's my goal. And I don't want to waste any more time. I know you've got some things to consider, but is there any reason you wouldn't hire me to sell your home tonight?
Just what I mentioned, that I have a lot to evaluate, and I want to make sure we're making the right choice.
Yeah, listen, David, I completely appreciate that. And I want you guys to make the right choice as well. Typically, when I'm sitting down with sellers and, sounds like we're right there and ready to rock and roll, there's usually 1 or 2 things that keep us from moving forward tonight. And sometimes, honestly, they just end up wasting us time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to step out in the car. I'll let you and your wife kind of talk it over for a minute. I got some calls to return. So I'm just going to step out in the car. I'm going to respond to some emails and some phone calls. Just flick the light or come get me when you're ready. And then we can kind of see if there's anything else we can do to get this finished up tonight. Is that fair enough?
Fair enough. We'll talk.
All right. Awesome.
Pete, you know how I feel about that script. I've gotten so many listings by just saying, hey, my wife and I are the same way. We always need to talk it over. Earlier when I came out here, I said, we're going to make a decision tonight, whether you decide to hire me or if I decide to take your listing. So I'm going to step out to my car, 15 minutes, make some calls. When I come back in, we're going to have a decision made on how we move forward. What I love about that script that Pete did is he not showing people that he's a salesperson, that he knows how to close? I think so. And every time I use that script, I got the listing. So sometimes people do need time to think it over. Like Michelle and I, if we're making the decision, sometimes I need to just be able to look at my wife like, you like this guy? And if she says yes, decision's made. I just can't do that when you're in my face. So when I say I need some time, I'll give you some time. I'm not leaving, though, without closing several times. And what Pete went over was a powerful way to close it.
I think maybe something I could have said to him, worked it in, was like, hey, I'm going to go out to the car. And, when I come back in after you guys have a chance to speak, if you'd like, another thing that's uncomfortable is I'm happy to call the other agents and let them know, that we decided to move forward. And if they want to bring a buyer, we're happy to work with them on that. Because those are like the 2 things, right? It's usually they want to talk to each other, and they're like reluctant to have to call the other agents and let them know. So if you can take those 2 things off of their plate, you might have a better shot at getting it closed tonight.
Man, it sounds like you took a great course like Push, man. You but it's true though, man. They don't want to make those calls. And so if we take that off their plate and say, I'll call those agents from your house and let them know you've decided to list with me. And guess what? They still get a chance to participate and make money if they have a buyer, right? So it's a great script. Jerome, I'm going to let you get the final word. Then I have an announcement. Then we're going to get out of here. Go ahead, Jerome.
I just wanted to acknowledge Pete. He does an excellent job. And you just mentioned that he got trained. So you can tell he was professionally trained. I think that that thing that he did, most people would be like, that's a little bit pushy. I kind of agree, but sometimes that's what you need to do. I admire your training, Pete. You got excellent stuff going on there.
Dude, coming from Jerome, that's high praise. So that you know. And Pete, you've taken my push program how many times? Twice. For those of you who are interested, I don't typically talk about this a lot. I have push starting up on October 22nd. If you want to find out about it, send me a DM, send me a text, and we'll talk about it. If you want to learn how to become very proficient in overcoming objections and mastering the listing presentation. And speaking of the listing presentation, Mr. Jerome here has agreed on October 4th to do the live listing presentation on this call. So Friday, October 4th, Jerome's going to be our seller and Hazatan, Jerome's going to be our agent and Hazatan is going to be our seller. And so I'm looking forward to that, Jerome, man. You have a way of delivering this material. I definitely want to see this go down. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being open to it. And guys, here's what I have to say. If you're getting value from this call, invite one agent to come next week. Somebody that you know that needs to work on their scripting. And then I also would encourage everyone here that didn't raise their hand to volunteer, raise your hand next time, participate and get in, be part of the conversation. You grow based on the conversations that you're having around you. And you can see you got some great people in here. Tiffany, Scott's in here, Renee's in here, Raj is in here, Jerome's in here, Pete's in here. People who know what's going on, they can help you grow. So let's get some more interaction going. I'm out of here, guys. Yes.
I love this, and I do invite people, but for some reason, it's so hard to get people to try to wake up at 5:30.
I know. And I appreciate you out there in San Diego, one of my favorite cities. I appreciate you for getting up. And yet the people who are hungry will show up. And here's the thing about inviting people. Here's what I would tell you to tell them. Register for it anyhow. And if you can't wake up, you'll get an email every Wednesday with a recording. You can go back and watch the recording. So the benefit of registering is even if you can't make it, you'll get the recording later so that you can go back and watch it at your own pace. So there's still a benefit of registering. And thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing people on. All right, guys.
That's true.
I'm out.
David, before you head out, guys, I wanted to say thank you to Jerome. On the last call 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, he made a comment about the interaction of my client, the seller, and I mentioned how I didn't have certain connection because of texting. We just by him mentioning all of that, and I knew that already, by him mentioning a lot of stuff, I was able to understand that I needed to add an additional individual into the referral system. She was all over the place looking for her second home, as we are in contract. And I was telling myself, she's not for me. She's not my style of a buyer. I might not be able to work with her or help her out. I will be hurting her. I refer her out. She found a home. She's under contract. And I wanted to take Jerome because I was direct. And I said to her directly, I don't think that we're a good fit going out. I think that you're all over the place. And I think that I'll be hurting you instead of helping you. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's David. This all goes to David. He made the call. Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys. I want to share my favorite quote affirmation, however you want to take it. And you guys might want to write it down. Patty Gurney shared this with me. I've been saying it every single day. And, excuse my French, but this is what's written. Be so fucking committed to your growth that you're willing to say no without guilt and yes without fear. No without guilt, yes without fear. I love that. I said it out loud 10 times the other day because I still deal with some fear around a lot of different things. Guess what though? I do it anyway because of what I have on my wrist right here. My affirmation. I want it more than I fear it. I say that every day, and I get up and I just charge the storm no matter what, because I have some big wants. I have some big desires, some big dreams. I want all that more than I fear anything. So don't be afraid of that. Jerome, final word, and we're out of here.
Real quick, Alexandra, I feel like I dismissed you when I was saying thank you because I wanted to give that to David, but thank you for mentioning that. Hearing stuff like that is impactful. It helps. So I'm grateful that you mentioned it, and I'm grateful that I was able to have some influence on you. So thank you for sharing.
Yep. We all
and
have
keep it up, guys, because all of you guys are very amazing. When I listen and I stay quiet, you know, it's been very helpful. It definitely has helped me to go back into my why, right? Sometimes we get overwhelmed with so much going on. I do service both sides, buyers and listings, and it is just, you know, amazing to hear people in this chat and this live has brought different thoughts, different ideas, and different approaches.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope the biggest takeaway from this call is you can learn this here. You got to go implement it though. You got to go get on the phone. You got to go have these calls. You got to go have these conversations. So I'm hoping this call just gets your day started right and you get the confidence to go pick up the phone. And maybe it's just one call today. Maybe you haven't made any all week and this call makes you call one person. It's baby steps. It takes time to get up there and get things going and be a well-oiled machine. It starts with one step at a time. So just get out of your comfort zone and start showing up. Start showing up and say no without guilt and yes without fear. I'm out. Y'all have a good one. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Thanks for everything. Y'all have a good weekend. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, guys.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.